I have 10 ways to tell you should not be a writer, because I talk all the time about how to become a better writer and how to be the type of writer that someone would like to hire for work. But the truth is that professional writing is not for everyone. And just because you might like the idea of being a writer or you dabble in writing, it doesn't mean that you should write for work. So here are 10 ways to tell if writing professionally is not going to be a good fit for you. The first one is that you can't meet deadlines. If you do not take deadlines seriously, you are not meant to work out as a professional writer, because you're usually working under an editor who has a very strict production schedule, and your deadline is not negotiable. It's not a suggestion of when to turn in an assignment. It's something that needs to be taken seriously, and it shows your time management skills, which are a huge part of being a writer professionally. So if you like writing, you don't have great time management skills, and you can't follow the direction of an editor who's going to give you a specific deadline, professional writing is not for you. The second sign is that you don't like feedback. Now, as solitary as writing is, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more coming up, it is actually a very collaborative profession. If you write professionally, you are probably going to be working with a number of different people, and you have to not only listen carefully to feedback, you really have to adapt your work going forward based on that feedback. And if you're not willing to do that, if you just like to write exactly how you like and don't want to hear anyone else's opinion, writing is more of a hobby. It's not something that you should do professionally. The third sign, or the third way to tell that you should not be a writer, is if you can't be alone. So that's what I was talking about. Actual writing work is so solitary, and you have to be very comfortable just spending time in your own space alone, talking to yourself in your head to work out creative ideas, and really develop whatever you're working on. It's a very solitary process. So writing is balancing so many different things, because you have that alone time, but like I said, you go from that solitary activity into an environment professionally where you do have to adapt your work based on feedback if you want to be successful going forward. But the actual work that you do is, it can be lonely if you like being around a lot of people all the time and really don't like kind of carving out your own space to do your creative work. All right, I have my notes on my phone. That's why I keep looking down. Hello. All right, the next way to tell if you should not be a writer is if you don't like walking. Because when you're spending all that time alone, sometimes you have to go out for a walk to clear your head, or to get some energy if you're feeling a little tired, a little sleepy. Sometimes getting out and walking, just getting your blood pumping, getting some fresh air into your lungs, is going to help you keep working on your assignment. So walking is a big part of writing, because walking can also be done alone. It can be done whenever you need a break, when you're in your solitary writing bubble. So if you don't like walking, if you really just like staying still, or not going out alone, or being alone on a walk where you can either clear your head or work out ideas, walking is great for both of those. It can be a creative, a way to stimulate your creativity, or it could be a way just to relax. But if you're not into that, you probably shouldn't be a writer. The next way to tell is if you are not willing to learn. And this has a lot to do, or it's related to being able to listen to feedback and use that feedback in your work going forward. Writing is really like you're a student full-time. If you're working full-time as a writer, it will bring you back to any time that you've been in school, because you have to learn on the job all the time. It's for someone who's very curious, who likes to research and explore different subjects that they might not already know about. Even though I usually talk about how you should be a subject matter expert if you want to work professionally as a writer. At the same time, you always have to keep pushing your limits of what you know and what you learn. It's not the type of thing where you know X, Y, and Z, or you have X, Y, and Z skills, and then you just use them, and that's it. You're always growing, and you're always learning if you work professionally as a writer. So you really have to have a willingness to learn, not only about subjects, but also, or about different subjects, but about, different areas of marketing or business that you may be working in, the fields that you may be working in as a professional writer. You might have to learn more about tech stuff that you didn't think you'd have to learn about. You might have to learn about SEO if you're writing online, when that might not have been a consideration for you if you just like writing on in a notebook with paper and a pen. You're not worried about search engines, but for a lot of professional writing work, it's all based upon how people can find that content and optimizing that content so people actually discover it, like it, and then learn more about the company that is putting out the content. So you have to adapt to a lot of different or you have to adapt to different fields when you work professionally. There are just so many standard job things that come along with writing professionally that you might not think about if you just like writing as a hobby. So the next one is something that I talk about all the time, which is often controversial, but I think you have to be a good editor to be a good writer professionally, because the type of writers that get hired have very clean and polished work. Yes, you're submitting a draft, which will then be edited at least by one person, usually, when you're doing professional writing work, but it's really hard to get hired if you don't have a portfolio that you have worked on yourself. That's, your creative vision, which is including the idea, what you write about, and also the editing, so that you produce a really polished final piece of work. If you don't have a portfolio that shows what a careful and thoughtful writer you are, it's going to be difficult to get hired in the first place, because editors don't want to hire writers who are going to turn in really messy drafts. It shows that you're not experienced. An experienced writer who works professionally is going to turn in a draft that they've already edited, that they already have their own editing process. That's just something that editors really look out for when they're hiring writers. What is that writer's editing process? Even if they're not hired to do editing work, it shows their level of experience and their level of dedication. So the next one is if you don't like experimenting, because there's no one right way to write. There are so many different angles that you can approach a topic from. It's not math. It's not 2 + 2 = 4, which is, just very definitive. With writing, there are so many different ways to produce great content and have great results, but you have to experiment to get there. You can't just say, this is the way that I do it, and this is the way, that looked very, I'm not doing that. I should not talk with my hands as much, but maybe, I don't know. No, then I feel like I'm really doing talking head videos. I know I'm doing talking head videos by my whole setup, but if I'm just sitting here and don't wave with my hands wildly, it might be even more boring. I don't know. Anyways, tangent, sorry. But what I was talking about, experimenting, correct? Yes, I was. There are just a lot of possibilities to get great results, and you kind of can't stop with your idea of what will work. You really have to try things from different angles to be sure that you're doing the best that you can be doing, and just really pushing your creativity. So if you're really set in your way of doing something, your way of writing, it might not work out for you professionally. The next one, which is related, is you only write when you feel like it. That's a really great sign that writing is better as a hobby for you, because when you're writing professionally, writing is your job, and sometimes you have to do your job when you don't feel like it. So gauge just how interested you are in writing before you pursue it professionally. And if you really just like doing it for fun, you only like doing it when you feel inspired, it's not going to work out as a profession, because it's a job that you have to be able to do on command. And we have two more. The next one is that if you don't like routines, writing professionally is probably not going to work out for you. I find that this one's kind of related to all my videos, and I'm going to make another one because I feel like I never complete my thoughts in any of the past ones about wearing the same thing every day, which is just an example. But in order to do professional creative work, I found a very common thread, and it's very relevant in my life, that a lot of things have to be put into routines that you do every day. You really have to streamline your other activities of just being human throughout the day, so that you have the time and the space and the mental energy to really focus on your creativity, which you do professionally in your work. So you really have to like having a routine every morning, a routine every night. Maybe you eat the same thing every day for lunch, or all your meals for that matter. But there's just a lot. You are better positioned to work in a creative field if you systematize or have processes or routines for the rest of your life, of your daily life. And the last one, the last sign that professional writing may not be a great fit for you is if you don't like promoting or marketing your own work. Because especially when you're just starting out as a writer, it's difficult to claim yourself as a writer. You might be shy about showing your work, but writers who work professionally, even if they don't work in marketing, they have to be comfortable marketing their work. And I think a huge distinction there is that it's not that you're confident, that you think what you wrote is so great and you want to share it with everyone and you think everything you write is good. Because one of my last videos, I talked about how it's dangerous to think that your writing is good, because you always need to be pushing yourself and not get comfortable with the idea of being a good writer. I'll put links in the description box below to things that I've been talking about. But that was kind of a tangent. Again, it's not one of my videos if I don't go off on some tangent, but you have to, even if you don't like your work, be willing to promote it. You can't just promote the stuff that you really, really like. You have to put everything out there and not be afraid of whether it's good or bad, or if it's going to be received as good or bad. It's just about helping people discover your work and letting them be the judge of whether or not it's bad, and not to hold back because you're shy or you don't think it's that good. It's just about putting it out there on your way to being discovered as a writer that people will want to hire at some point. So those are all of them. Those are the signs that professional writing may not be for you. But on the flip side of all of that is if you identify with the opposite of all those 10 ways to tell that I've been talking about, maybe professional writing is for you. And that's what I talk about every week here. So if you haven't already subscribed, click the red subscribe button below the video, turn your notifications on by ringing the bell. And if you like this topic and other topics about how to become a better writer, how to become a more hireable writer, then I have more coming up for you. So I will talk with you soon. Oh, know what I was going to say? I was going to say like this video. I'm really losing my train of thought today. Thanks for sticking with me. Give it a like. And now I will talk with you soon.